when you ran for mayor, the candidate night, was that put on those pre-wins there?
Well, if you want to call it that, it was mostly Cassie around and what the hell's her name that runs the police commission. Because they asked the questions, there's only one person who answered. And imagine who that was.
Well, I'm thinking about it. I talked to another person about this. It's going to happen for him, right? See what away from this. And have it away from this night. 2020. Election.
Well, I guess we kind of sort of maybe might.
I'm starting to think that.
It was,
I've got some formats that run across my mind.
I'm thinking I have so repeatedly that I've got a lot of work on this side. I started out with primary, legally didn't have to hold. Together, I ran into my ballot drawing that was very much. They don't care. And then we went on down to the early voting, closing the place up early. Always detected somebody screwed the machines in this building during the early voting cycle.
I know nothing about those machines, how you manipulate them,
I'm not sure either, because I never had a chance to look at it. But looking at the numbers, it's just too cynical.
The books are so screwed up with the so I don't know to pre-vote election. They still had her as our old department we had in 1919.
Well, there's a tree.
She had to show proper identification on this stuff.
The cat's under the tree.
Like I said, there's no doubt in my mind that what went on here,
And I've done a couple of
that
those.
election, you haven't seen it yet, but I'll tell you. I'm not saying I would want it. I think they would lost or something. Because he would beat me up.
Oh, this is one that I don't like this one very well, but that was the one that I did do and was for him
People say in the city, I don't believe the city ever raised that thing, but I know that.
Well, actually, he was mistaken.
One guy went to the he said,
That's right. A friend of mine was
that's
talking
what I
about
want to raise something out of it.
She told me about that one time.
So,
Good evening. Would you please stand for the invocation and pledge of allegiance? Councilman Rogers.
Let us pray. Our God, our Father in heaven, we thank you for this day. We thank you for all the blessings you've given to each and every one of us here. Tonight we pray that you'll be with us and guide us as we go about the business of the city. We continue to pray for those serving the armed forces abroad and serving in harm's way. Be with them, guard them, protect them. These things we pray in Christ's name, and amen.
Amen. Councilman Bibby, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Under the public forum section this evening, we have 3 people that have signed up to speak. Mr. Oll, you're first.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Hope my voice stays with me. First off, I want to mention FOIA number 251, sent by me July the 18th at 6:24 p.m. received and opened by the city July 19th at 8:06 a.m. Will respond in the next 5 business days. Today at 8:06, day number 6, no answer, violation of state law. Wasn't no answer as of 5:26 this evening. During June 14th City Council meeting, it was stated the city never adopted an ordinance to conduct its meeting under Robert's Rules of Order. I'd like to know, what or whose rules do you conduct city business? And lastly, I've got a copy of Parkersburg, May 22nd City Council minutes. I'd like to pass them on to our recorder. It might give her some ideas what should be closed in minutes. That's all I've got.
Thanks, Rick.
Mr. All, we did respond to your FOIA. It was a simple form that you asked for, and we did respond to you. So we'll check and see why you didn't get it. Yeah. Yeah, well, we did respond to you, okay?
Didn't get it.
All right. Next up to speak is Brenda Powell.
Good evening, Brenda Powell, 1409 31st Street. Wanted to bring some things to your attention. Basically, the deer population that we have here in Vienna. We have anywhere from 5 to 6 deer, which is including does, a buck, and a couple fawns. The issue that we have is we cannot have anything at all. We can't have a garden, we can't have flowers, we can't have anything. They eat them. And this past week, I've been trying so hard to keep from my bush from being eaten. And as of Friday, it was chewed down to nothing. And so I called the DNR as soon as they opened up at 8 o'clock that morning and spoke with Jeff McCready. He's actually the biologist there at the DNR. Well, we had a lengthy discussion about it, and I'm not the first phone call. He's had several, and he gives suggestions, and he told me where I could find information in order to pass out, and so I wanted to do that. That's all right.
Thank you. Thank you.
I feel sure that this has probably been brought to Vienna's attention previously. I don't know, but Mr. McCready said that he would be willing to speak, to council and to discuss what could be done. Actually, he's been working with Parkersburg and with, I think he said it was North Hills, and their issue that they're having with the deer population. So I hope that you will consider this and take a look at it, possibly call him and set that up. And then maybe at some point in time you could, inform us, the public, what can be done. That's what I hope for. Another little thing I wanted to bring to light is actually, Street 19th, 23rd, 27th, 28th, and 34th. All of them having hills. People are parking on the hills for different reasons. They could be, yard sales, people mowing. It can be garbage trucks. It can be, just about anything, stopping. It is creates a blind spot to where that people cannot see. whether or not if you're coming down the hill and somebody pulls around it to try to get around it. I'm just afraid of an accident. We've almost been in one on 28th Street. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention too, to see if maybe it could be checked, see what can be done. That's it. Thank you.
Mrs. Powell, Ms. Powell, we've had Mr. McCready up here twice. He's done extensive surveys in the city of Vienna. It requires 3 acres in order to do an urban hunt. There are not 3 acres of woodlands in the city of Vienna. McDonough Wildlife obviously is, but it's a wildlife area. Jackson Park is another area where there's several acres. But the problem is there is no safe area within the city limits of Vienna to have an urban hunt. We've explored every possibility there is in order to do something about the deer, and unfortunately, there is no solution for that. It's just, there are a lot of deer, and unfortunately, there's very little that we can do about it. So we have had Jeff up twice to talk and made presentations about the options that are available, and unfortunately, there just are none.
Well, I was thinking that he was hoping that, like McDonough Park, that there might be a possibility that maybe, the park could be closed for a week or so, something on that line, to just have it just a one time, maybe a year or whatever. I don't know. He said he would like to discuss it as far as the potential of maybe that being something you would consider.
Mr. Rogers?
McDonough Park is a wildlife area. Why don't you go to a zoo and hunt elephants or something like that? Former Council Steve Stevens and I met with Mr. McCready a lot. And like the mayor said, there is no 3 acres of property in here that people wanted or would allow people to hunt, as far as bow is concerned or anything else in this city. McDonough Wildlife Area is a wildlife area. It's a sanctuary. And people from North Hills has asked us repeatedly over and over and over to have a hunt there. Well, the North Hills hunt for deer is adjacent to the wildlife area. But, you don't go to a zoo to hunt lions or tigers or whatever. Wildlife area is a wildlife area. It's a preserve for protection of animals. So you don't do that.
Well, it isn't a zoo.
I know it's not a zoo, but it is a protected area for animals.
Yes, it is. But it's still, the fact of it is that the problem that I have with it is where that they're eating everything. They're in the point now that they're even eating marigolds, and that's something that they normally don't do. I don't care if you even spray your plants to try to keep them from eating them. They still eat them. It doesn't matter what you do. So it is an issue, and I was hoping so hard that maybe something could be found. I don't know how much the city of Vienna might have in the Jackson Park area, if there would be anything that would be could be designated as a place for that.
Brenda, I don't know what the answer is, and like the mayor said, we've looked at it. Every night I have anywhere from 3 to 5 deer in my backyard. In fact, last night there was 9, and this morning there was 4 every day. I even put in landscaping plants that said they were deer repellent, not. And now, I didn't even know it, but they're eating leaves right off the rose bushes around the thorns, which surprised me. I don't know. I'm not really comfortable with a hunt in a wildlife refuge either. If you look at the bottom paragraph in this handout you gave us, how does the city implement a hunt? One of the subtopics there is establish hunting zones, and that's the problem we ran into before is where are we going to establish those zones? Where are we going to put them? I don't know about the park, but I don't know what the answer is. I'm just not sure myself.
The thing about the park is,
if you look beside behind you and over there, that's on my side yard right there. I understand that deer is all over the place.
And they're going to be, they wander.
The issue with the park, it's a safety issue. If a bow hunter would go in there and shoot an arrow at a deer and miss, it's extremely hard to find those broadheads once they get into the grass. But those things have razor points on the end of them, and we certainly would not want our children to play in the park when there was a danger of maybe stepping on an arrow or whatever. So
Oh, I don't think that I don't think he's talking about the park itself, but
well, that's the only
around
other
the area.
of forest that we have.
Well, I didn't know, like around the tanks. I think that the city has other property on out further from the park area itself, up the hill there on the right-hand side, and it travels on over towards, I'm thinking towards the ball field on the right-hand side.
Most of that property is owned by Mr. Harper, and then the other side of the hills, Jackson Junior High School property. And so the city, I mean, it takes 3 acres minimum to have an urban hunt.
Yes, I realize that.
And that's the thing we've always ran into, is the fact that we do not have a safe zone where that could take place. But it is a concern. There are a tremendous amount of deer. We all see them about every day. But it's just unfortunate that we do not have the room.
Well, I just thought I'd, bring it forward and talk about it. Like I said, him and I talked very lengthy about it. And he did mention the McDonough Park area and thought that maybe it might be a possibility, for it. So that's another reason that promoted me to bring the information.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just be careful, because if you chase deer, we had one citizen here in the city, the neighbor reported him for chasing the deer off his property, and he was arrested and taken to magistrate court, had to hire an attorney, and every time he goes out in his yard, his neighbor is out there watching him, so be careful. If you want to talk to Mary Lee, she'll tell you more about it.
Mr. Donamaker?
I'm slow.
That's all right.
My name's Darren Onamaker. I live at 1409 31st Street in Vienna. I was born and raised here in Vienna, and I'll probably die in Vienna. It's a good place to live. My concern is, back in March, we was asked during your financial budget, you was asked by Mr. Bibby about our economical director, about putting a report out. And Mr. Connolly asked you about it. Last meeting, Mr. Bibby brought it up again. Just in my opinion, I think the department heads, like the economical director, the one that's over the streets and sewer, the police department, we get their report in the paper. Fire department heads, I think that we ought to have a quarterly report for what they're doing. And I'd appreciate it if you all would consider it. And going back to this urban deer hunting, it was brought up years ago, but the deer is pretty, and people feed them. And as long as they're feeding them, you all could make a stop to this here feeding the deer in the city limits. And that's what drawing the deer in. That's all I've got to say. Thank you.
We'll give you a chance to walk back. Don't have to get in a hurry. We'll wait on you.
I could ride my scooter.
There you go. I'd like to call to order this regular session of the Vienna City Council for July the 26th, 2018. Let the record reflect that I've taken roll, that all members of council are present. Having a quorum, we will proceed. The minutes from the regular council meeting held on July the 12th, 2018 have been printed, posted, and circulated. Are there any corrections to the minutes? If there are no objections, then the minutes will stand approved as posted. Report of the treasurer, Councilman Leach.
Yes, Mayor, I've got the reconciliation funds provided by Finance Director Eddie Roberts for July 26, 2018.
Your microphone's turned on.
Just reconciliation funds today, July 26. I've reviewed the accounts. The accounts appear in order, and the city's financially sound.
All right, thank you very much. This evening, we have one item on our agenda, and that's the second reading of an ordinance amending the recycling collection fee. This is an ordinance to amend 953.03, the imposition of fees, billing, and collections of the Vienna Municipal Code. Be it ordained by the Common Council of the City of Vienna that the above cited code section is amended as follows. Each owner or occupant of a residential unit being subject to the provisions of this article shall pay to the city a monthly fee, said fee to be the per household monthly amount as determined through the competitive bid process. I'll entertain a motion for the approval on second reading of the ordinance amending the imposition of fees, billing, and collection of the Vienna Municipal Code.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the ordinance to amend 953.03. Is there any discussion?
Mayor, just a point of clarification where it states in there that to be paid to the city of Vienna. It is indeed, however, that is just a pass on to the recycling.
That is
company.
correct.
So just as clarification.
Yes, sir. Any other comments? If not, I'll call for the question then. All those in favor on second reading of an ordinance to amend 953.03, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. That concludes our agenda for this evening. We now move on to council comments.
Mayor, I have several things here. I want to start off by saying that this last council meeting that we had on the 12th, as well as this evening's council meeting, has been both very disappointing and embarrassing to me. The last meeting had no unfinished business and one new business item. Tonight we have one old business item and no new business. This is very non-productive, and it's a total waste of taxpayers' dollars. Our citizens did not elect any one of us setting up here to come in here and sit for 5 minutes and conduct a little bit of business and adjourn and go home when we have so many issues that needs to be discussed and talked about. And I'll just without belaboring that, just as a few examples. We have an aging infrastructure. We need a comprehensive plan to start upgrading that infrastructure. Do we have a short-term and a long-term plan? Do we have a 1-year plan, a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan? Or do we just keep kicking the can down the road and fixing what breaks? And we've been talking about the rehab on wells 7 and 8. We know it's going to be somewhere in excess of $300,000 to do the upgrading to bring that online when Camorrs is done. Where's those funds going to come from? What about the riverside of Johns Mansville? I was told at the last conversation with Mr. Hancock that would be in our possession in 30 days. As far as I know, we still have no plan. What about our police fee? We talked about that now for months, and we've known that it is currently not being administered correctly. It was said that, yeah, that's something that we'll have to look at sometime down the road. Again, why do we keep kicking the can down the road? And I am going to ask, as far as that one item is concerned, that be placed on the next agenda of the 9th as an action item for discussion and a corrective vote. At the last meeting, Councilman Elam brought up a committee to analyze the city's health insurance situation. I thought personally that was a very sound idea that totally got brushed off. It was stated that we do have a committee and that it is the Finance Committee. In my opinion, that's totally unacceptable. we've had several people call and ask me, and I'm sure other people, about river access. Council has even received a letter from the county commissioners expressing their concern about that issue, and it was totally ignored. And quite frankly, what is the status of 12th Street, for an example? I know there's a lease purchase, but what is the status of that? I think that that's something maybe Mr. Thornton should come and address us. Even with a lease purchase, at some point in time, it should mature to the point that, yeah, they either continue with the purchase or it's available. What about 31st Street? There's a warehouse up there that should have been sold. We planned on that a long time ago. Warehouses and land right now in this area is in a huge demand with all of the oil and gas that's going on all around us. If we do not have anything working on our properties with what's happening in today's environment, something is bad wrong. Then at the last meeting, it was brought up by me about the treasurer's report / reconciliation of funds. And it was asked that all transition making up those net changes be given to each council member on a regular basis. And I will share with you a email that I got, she's not here tonight, from Finance Director Amy Roberts, that beginning in September, in addition to this report, I will do my best to upload a check register for each time period to the Dropbox of each council member. I will also prepare a quarterly budget to actually report that will be uploaded. So that does look like information that will be forthcoming, and thank you to Amy for doing that work. But it was very interesting to me that as we talked about that, just about a week later, this article was in the Parkersburg newspaper. Hopefully all of you seen that article from State Auditor J.B. McCuskey. And State Auditor McCuskey has started a website that's called the West Virginia Checkbook.gov. And he's going around to all of the counties showing that software and what it's capable of doing. Basically, right now, we can go into the state website and look at all expenditures. We can look at different departments within the state, see how much money is there to be spent, how much money has been spent, who it's been spent with, and how much. He's at this time advocating that all of the counties also get involved with this process. And it said what it is intended to do is even the playing field so all of our citizens can be as informed as possible when they make their voting decisions and their communications with representatives about the state's priorities. The website can show people how much money is available, as I just spoke of a minute ago. The website is designed for both public and the media. And transparency is the name of that game. I've been in contact with JB over the last day or so, texting back and forth, and congratulated him on this and told him that it was something that I was very interested in. And Monongahela County is one of the counties that's going to be the first county that's going to step up to the plate on August the 1st and actually implement this same program. Though it will be separate from the state, it is coming from the same basic platform. When I spoke to JB, I should say, State Auditor McCuskey, about my interest level in that, I asked him about his thoughts about having that going not only at a state level and a county level, but how about a municipal level? How about at the city level? And that was very intriguing to him, to the point that he and I have scheduled a telephone call Monday to where we're going to talk about this in great detail. And the bottom line is, I think what I would like to see happen is at some point in time have absolute total transparency, not only at the state level, not only at the county level, but also at the city level. And I think it would be pretty nice if Vienna actually led the charge on that and was the first city in the state of West Virginia that actually had total transparency of the funds, that not just the funds being spent, but all transactions for that matter. But with that being said, I'm going to have a lot more to say about that in the weeks to come. I'm going to continue the conversations with Mr. McCuskey. He's going to help lead in that direction, and obviously the software is already in place for the state. It'll be a much smaller software required for the county, and even a much smaller one that's required for a municipality. So it looks like the tools is all in place in order to make that go forward. In closing, I would just like to say that going forward, I would hope that we have full agendas that allows the council to go about doing the business of the city, not to come in here, sit down for 5 minutes and leave. That's not what we're getting paid to do. In fact, I'm very willing to work with anyone to develop the agenda going forward to make sure that we have a productive meeting in the future. That's all I have for now.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Conley. I would like to read a letter to you, to the council. You all did receive a letter from the county commission in regard to river access. I responded to that letter the day that I got it. I sent this letter back to every one of the county commissioners. And it says, "Dear Commissioners, regarding the property at the foot of 12th Street in Vienna, we do not own that piece of land. The Vienna Fire Department had used that private boat ramp, but it has fallen into disrepair. The city of Vienna does not own that ramp. It is owned by a private individual that does not even live in the city anymore. We continue to work with the state of West Virginia to get Spencer's Landing riverfront property approved for public use. That location offers many possibilities for future development. Thank you for your inquiry. We hope to have a beautiful facility in the near future." And that was written in response to the letter that was received by me the same day that I received it.
Mayor, was that mailed, emailed? Because I wouldn't have made the statement that I made without checking with them to see if they got that, and I was absolutely told that no, there was no response given. So, I mean, I don't know whether it was emailed and didn't go through or whether it was mailed, but there again, I'm not dumb enough to sit up here and make a comment like that without checking first to see if it took place.
Well, unfortunately, Mr. Conley, sometimes you don't have the facts correct. And I not only personally spoke with them, but I also mailed the letter. So it has been done.
My facts are that I called and asked the specific question, did you get any response? The answer was no. We received none. My question was directly to the county commissioner. So I don't know how my information could go any better than straight from the horse's mouth.
Well,
I'm just saying, maybe if you emailed it, it didn't go. I don't know.
Mr. Conley, I really am not going to argue with you. I don't care. I personally spoke with the county commission office. I know that the letter was mailed. Now, it's done. I responded to it the day that I got it. And so just the fact that you didn't get the correct information, I'm sorry, but it was done the day that I received it. So I don't care. There's the letter. It was done. All right. The answer is the same. We have no riverfront access. And until we get clearance from the state of West Virginia for that piece of property down there, there is not even a reason to discuss that, because it's up to this council to sit together as a body and decide what the development will be on that 15 acres once we receive clearance from the state. Until that point, there's no reason to discuss because we don't have a clear path. The property at 12th Street, that is a private boat ramp that was put in many years ago, and it's not ours, okay? So those are my two answers for you on that. And any other council comments this evening?
No, he did reference to me about the insurance. I'm not done with that yet because I don't think it's being done correctly, and I want to know. I need to get my facts in order before I pursue this any further. But I will. I do want to look into our insurance. That's how. I guess I'm asking now, how is that put out for bid as far as the insurance goes, Mayor? Because I don't know. As far as the insurance for the city, how is that?
Mike, we've used the Swindleman Agency for the last 7 or 8 years. We pay them a consulting fee. They are experts in the insurance business. They have all of the contacts with all of the major companies that do municipal insurance coverage. It's the same company that the county uses. Okay, those people are experts. We do not have the personnel. It's very difficult. Mr. Conley makes reference to the state auditor's office doing all of these exciting things. They have a staff. We have one person that does that, okay? And it's the same. We have one person that deals with our health insurance plan, And for her to have to go out to all of these major companies and represent us, it would be impossible. We wouldn't get to the first step of the process. On the other hand, the Schwindeman Agency are experts. Mark Schwindeman sits on national boards. He's been an insurance agent for many, many years. And because of his contacts and his ability through his agency to do all of the research, do all of the comparisons, show the different plans that are available, that's why we pay them, because they have saved us literally hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions, over the time that we've engaged them. So, all right?
Well, it's still, I mean, okay, that's fine, but there's going to be more questions about it, because I just don't, to not have an increase since 1999, it's just hard to understand that. How these numbers come up with, how you guys came up with, I know you on the finance committee, you guys vote on the insurance, is that how it is? And that's you and Kathy and Mr. Leach, that's how it works?
It is not. Okay? If you would like to talk with Stephanie, she will be more than happy to explain the process. And if necessary, Mark Schwindeman will come. He'll address council. I mean, he has no issues with that. Okay? Any other council comments this evening? All right. Meeting adjourned.
Claire had her job. You got one with 15 jobs.
Yeah, they're all like this. Every